And we're back. Welcome to our show, which we've now called the No Cap Zone. It is official. So,
nice.
I'm APT Songs. This is Joe Hollywood.
That take the kids' phrases. They know me. You know Joe by now.
Do they?
You know me. Get out of here.
We've been talking a lot lately about just like the whole dating thing in general. You know, now that quarantine's over most places and people are starting to get back out there, it's kind of reminding a lot of guys of like, oh, like dating is actually hard and has issues. And so there's been people on YouTube as of late and out there in general that have been talking about dating. And there's been a lot of more men coming out talking about it from a man's perspective in various different ways, whether it's men that are saying you should date, men that are saying you should go their own way, or if you're going to date, be mindful of these things. There's I don't know if YouTube allows the R word to be said, so people are calling it the crimson capsule community.
Really?
Yes. I've
not heard that.
Crimson capsule community. You know what that means. You know what crimson is.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay.
Apparently, YouTube blocks it out sometimes, so they've been calling it that instead.
I heard they were like demonetizing people, trying to shut it down because apparently it's bad for like the economy.
Well, it's interesting. It's like
people aren't together.
There's a thing to be said for like whenever things are pro women, it's usually more championed, but when it's pro guy, it's seen as anti-woman, and therefore it's got to be demonetized. A lot of those platforms get demonetized. So they talk about things like men's rights and about the crimson capsule community and what they believe, or the purple one or the black
men's
one.
Rights isn't a thing. Why do men need rights?
Exactly. Well, because as you know, the patriarchy dictates that we're already in charge of stuff. So therefore, we don't have any kind of issues. We don't go through situations, especially in the dating world, where everything is always geared towards us. Our dating lives are completely perfect all the time.
Ooh. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every man has everything he's ever wanted in the dating scenario. And if he doesn't, it's his fault because he's the man. Like, you just get everything you want.
Yeah, man's always at fault. Courts are always in a man's favor. You know, that's that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
okay. I mean,
so April.
I'm just like, I got to figure out how to get to that universe because that sounds amazing. You know,
well, Thanos snapped that one away. So
is that the one? That's
the one. Yeah.
There's got to be another one similar though.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah.
Somewhere out there over the rainbow. I've actually been going back through. I just saw Thanos snap yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's fun,
man. We can watch that. It's been a while, but yeah. So there've been a lot of new content creators, and one of the major ones that have been out there has been like Kevin Samuels, who funny enough, he started off as a men's dating coach, and he still does that. Helping men, like, figure out like their how to be, because he's really a fashion coach for men, and he also about how to be more high value and give a better presence in life. But what happened is women started coming to his platform and basically like disagreeing with a lot of stuff he was saying to men, weird, but then also trying to like convince him that despite whatever their station is in life, they deserve high quality men. And so when he rebutted them is when he started getting a lot of attention, because women didn't like being told basically that their crap stinks and they don't necessarily deserve all the men that they want. So I don't know what your experiences of his materials. I'd be curious to hear what your opinion is about his stuff first.
Well, let me start off by saying I'm not really a big fan of Kevin Samuels. Like, I personally don't like his what's the word? His demeanor, the way he has these conversations. But with that being said, he's not wrong. Like, he makes a lot of sense, and he's sitting there basically calling people out. I've just never been a fan of that type of help for people. Like, yeah, let me sit here and dog you out and make you feel like crap. We're keeping it clean. Is that what we're doing? I'm going to make you feel like crap to tell you about yourself. It's like, I personally think there's a better way to do it. And I've actually heard him address that. He was like, well, I'm not going to sit here and add all these queens and beautifuls and all the rest of this to coddle it and sugarcoat stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a difference between sugarcoating and just being an a-hole. So, you got to find a balance in between, but you decide to stay way over there. So, yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. But message-wise, yeah, he's right. Like, he's dead on.
Now, it's interesting that you bring up the issue of the way that he delivers stuff. Because I literally just thought about this as you were saying this. My first thought was like, kind of like the way like Simon Cowell delivers stuff, and kind of like the way that Gordon Ramsay delivers stuff on their shows. But it's interesting that at the time, I mean, like I think Simon Cowell in the beginning got like a little bit of pushback, but then he's like, oh, he's just the guy that tells it as it is. I do wonder if there's a thing to be said for like if a white guy's doing it versus a black guy's doing it, giving the information in the same style, if it's more demonized when black men in particular are doing it. I literally just thought of that off my head, like, oh shit, I never thought about that.
I mean, possibly, like there is the whole angry black man stereotype, but honestly, people like it in general. People like people who just say whatever with no filter. I'm just personally not a fan of that. And I know typically women aren't a fan of that either. They tend to kind of say things a certain way or kind of coddle the situation. So yeah, like I get why they hate it, but it's when it's aimed at them. When it's aimed at somebody else, oh, it's hilarious now. It's funny. You saw how he read that person, or I don't like anybody doing this to anybody, but you know, it's popular. So people love Gordon Ramsay and Simon Cowell and Kevin Samuels apparently. But I'm just like, you can tell somebody they stink in a way that doesn't send them off crying to the, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the way to do it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you know, a bunch of euphemisms and hey, look, let me holler at you over in the corner real quick. This is the situation. This will happen. I want you to It's simple versus, oh my God, you smell horrible. You know what? This dude smells horrible right here. Too much. And that's what Kevin Samuels feels like to me. Like, I'm gonna sit here and make fun of you and mock you and make you feel stupid and belittle you while I tell you about yourself. And so it just makes it more difficult to appreciate what you're being told in that fashion. But I mean, that's his style. So he got a name off it. More power to him. But
very true. I guess my opinion of it is it's similar in some parts, but different in others in the sense that, how do I put this? Because I've seen many of his videos. Like I caught him when that video came out, when the woman called in with the kid and was like, I want to get a high powered man. And he was like asking her stats. And he was saying like, well, you know, based on your stats, these are why high powered men are most likely not, or high value men are most likely not going to want you. And that's when that blew up, and people definitely had a response to that. But it's interesting if you look at the video, it's like he starts off where he's like, hey, I'm just going to give you the reality situation X, Y, and Z. And this is true for a lot of the videos that he does, whereby like he'll say the thing nicely and with intention. He has no emotion behind it. He's just saying like, this is the thing, these are the facts. And then what happens is the women will start to ask and question him and then push back on him and say, well, you just know what you're talking about. And well, no, because, you know, men are still going to like X, Y, Z. After about like 10 minutes of that, it goes from like, hey, these are the facts. Like, look, if you don't listen to me, die alone. And that's not a nice thing to say, but also he gave you the nice version. You chose not to listen. And then now you're coming on his show, pushing back against him and saying that
I think he might have started out like that. I think at this point he just leaned into it because he saw it was getting some ratings.
Well, because
like, DJ Envy got into it with him, and I was looking at his response, DJ Envy, and he started out on 10. Like there was no build up. There was no. He just came in the door.
Start there at that level.
Catty kind of like, like.
And that goes to also because a lot of women are offended. But like I've seen him do shows where he's talking to men in the same fashion. Most of the men that he talks to don't push back as much as the women do, but he does that same thing like, hey, these are the facts. And he was talking to one guy with like, he was still living at home with his parents and whatever. And he was just like, well, if you're not going to get out there, then you're not going to get a woman. Like, what's your freaking problem? And it's like, oh shoot. So now if you use that same energy to a woman though, all of a sudden it's offensive. You're being anti-woman, yada, yada, yada. But he's, for better or worse, equal opportunity like that for everybody. As far as I've seen based on the video, because I've seen a good portion of his man and woman stuff. I have seen the videos where I feel like he's going a little overboard with women to where it sounds like, oh crap, you are at the level where you're like making fun of, and I'm not a fan of that at all. But that also speaks to like, because the information for men out there is so far and few in between. It's like when we come against stuff in that information or the person that's giving it that is toxic, do we remove that person completely? Even in this instance where they're delivering in a different way that's not accepting or toxic to us, or do we still say, okay, I'm going to separate out the toxic part, but we still go with the parts that I actually think are actually helpful?
Well, that's kind of where I am with it. Like, clearly I've seen a few different videos. Like, I didn't just stop listening immediately, but it's just, like you said, it's a lot. It's a lot to chew through to get to the meat of it. You got to deal with a lot. So he's not my favorite. There's other people giving the same information in a way that's a little more palatable. So yeah, the fact that women have tried to challenge him with it, and then he's rebuttaling, and it's getting attention to watch the back and forth. But the fact that he knows what he's talking about, and he's coming from a position of kind of an authority in that realm, he's winning most of these back and forths. He's just like, I know what I'm talking about. You can't really challenge it. And it kind of gets them to a point where they haven't thought it through. Because he's right. Like a lot of times, this is, I guess, kind of where it all started and what the information really is. But I feel like we're in a society right now where everybody kind of feels like I'm super important. I'm the best. I deserve the best. I was telling a friend yesterday, I feel like it kind of came from the whole everyone gets a trophy generation. Like, if we're all winners, no one's really, there's no like real ranking. It's just everybody's the best.
Well, there's no like standard that you have to now try to really prove your worth, because you're just worthy at any level.
Right. But then there really is though. But it's just like what happens is your self-perspective is off. So if you just decide you're the best and you deserve the best, there's nothing to rank yourself against. You just get to rank everybody else. And so he's telling women that that's what they're doing in dating, where they're like, oh, I deserve this, I deserve this, I deserve this. So the examples I gave, I was like, yo, you know, I know so many women who's like, oh, Michael B. Jordan, that's my husband, I deserve to be with Michael B. Jordan. Okay, great. So if that's what you feel is the level you deserve to be on, who is he with? So right now he's with who? Lori Harvey?
Yeah, Lori Harvey.
With you. How do you stack up to Lori Harvey? And then they get real quiet because they're like, oh, yeah, because damn, she's beautiful. And so she's famous and she's this, she's that. And then now all of a sudden you have something to compare to.
Right.
But the dude that she's looking at, like, oh, you're not him, so I can't date you. You're not at that level.
Yeah. And like, that's what Kevin does do. That's one of the things that Kevin does do is he'll be like, you know, women will come on the show and say, well, he'll say, how do you rate yourself? And you can't say 7. And they'll always be like, initially, I'm a 10 or I'm a 9. And then he'll say, okay, so like, what would Halle Berry be then? What would Beyonce be then? Like, I'm giving you a realistic idea of what most men consider as a 10 standard. Are you saying that you of your own accord stack up to these people that you're saying is 10s? Is that just in looks? Is that also in your attitude? Is that in the things that you can do for a man? Like, do you actually realistically think you add up collectively to a 10? And I think a lot of women honestly are lying to themselves, because as men, we're taught very early on, like, hey, these are the stats you got to get to. Like, if you want a woman of this caliber, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And we can feel bad about it all day. It ain't gonna change the woman's mind about if we're at that status or not. So somehow we're able to take that, but they don't really quite always understand that or feel, or they have a feeling about it.
I want to come back a little bit, but the men's part you just said, I think is a little off too, because we also came up with these Steve Urkel fantasies where you can be the dude that's not quite what she's after, but you can pursue enough and basically earn her love from her. And what we found is women are like, yeah, that's not a thing. If anything, you're annoying and you need to get away from me. And then it's just like women want what they want. And so the more that they've embraced that, the more it's kind of shattered this image that dudes have of I can work my way to be good enough for her, where that's not really a thing. Or I can do enough for her, I can give enough to her. And that's been the mentality that women are like, that's not what we want. And men are confused, like, what do you mean? Like, this is what we were taught from this. Everybody kept making fun of like the Disney princess fantasy that women have. I'm finding men have a Disney fantasy of our own, where we think that, oh yeah, you can get the princess, you can get the, you know, Mario with the princess. Mario,
it's the whole white knight thing. Like the white knight, we come in and save the day, and we're going to be her hero, and she's going to want to take her back to our castle. Like, it's literally all castle.
Like at the end of the day, the good dude wins over the bad dude. You know what I'm saying? Like the good-hearted guy wins the girl. And what we slowly kept hitting the brick wall of, that's not real life. Period. That's not how it works.
Just to clarify, not in the way that it's been taught to us, because there's this mantra that like, oh, you got to be the bad guy or the jerk in order to get women. And it's not even that you have to be like that extreme with being mean. It's just that most bad boys and jerks are displaying other masculine characteristics that women like. And a lot of beta guys that are, or we'll say nice guys, are displaying beta qualities that make them less attractive to women, you know, wanting them to lead the relationship, asking if they're okay, not showing any kind of sexual side, like all those things that, you know, we think are like, oh, we're going to be respectful and be whatever. But those are things that are turning off masculine traits that women actually look for. So for better,
we were taught that by women. Our parents taught us that. Most of the men in this generation were raised by their mothers, who taught them men are toxic, men are bad, men messed up our family, men messed up our relationship. Don't be like the man I went after. Be a better man. This is what a better man would be. And so she instills all these qualities into her son that then his generation of women are like, you're not manly enough for me. I want a man. That's where it confused So
and it's funny because they do that where they change it to where the man has to be different without changing the females and saying you should also want something different. Like we're to change the kind of guy you want, so now you got to be a different kind of female because they're going to still want the stuff that they want, and they don't ever get talked out of that.
Oh no, because they're perfect the way they are, and they shouldn't have to change anything and subject themselves to the patriarchal standard of the beauty magazines and everything else. And the funny part to me is that's really not men's standards. Like when you really look at like the beauty magazines that they look at, that's run by women or gay men typically. Yeah. The men that would want you aren't the ones telling you that you need to look like this, but they're being blamed for it. There may be like a few of these high status men that we're talking about, which is the other side of the point.
Yeah.
That are in those positions that are still pushing that thing, but they're telling you what they want. Like there's this generalization of all men are the same, all men want the same things, all men act the same. Yeah. What I'm learning is when women say all men, what that means is all the men that they would be willing to date, all the men that they're interested in.
And we're taking it literally, and they're meaning it figuratively.
Well, that's it. Literally. Because what I'm seeing is if they don't consider you someone dateable, they don't really see you as a man. They'll never say it. And that's what's been tripping me out. It's not something that'll ever be spoken. But the translation is what I see as a man. They'll say things like alpha man. They will never say you're not a man. But they don't consider you a man. So when they say all men are, they may give, oh, not you.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
You in their mind already.
Huh?
They've castrated you in their mind, basically.
Literally. So it's just like you don't fall into this category of what I consider a man. So all men cheat. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm not somebody. Well, no, not you. Well, why not me? They can't say it. It'll be a silence. It'll just be a pause of I don't know what to say that's not going to offend you.
Right.
Or like if you're a man who's not making any type of sexual advance, then you're not a sexualized creature. You're not someone who that's a factor with. So it'll be women will say things like, oh, you don't count. Like, oh, I can't go hang out with the man, just us. Oh, but you don't count. Well, why don't you know? Because you're not well, it's different with you. And there'll be all these little dance arounds.
Yeah.
So that coming back to, okay, the men that they consider a man is a very small percentage that's representing all of us. So another dude who tries to present himself on that level, who doesn't match this standard, it becomes a problem. And now you're creepy, you're weird, you're doing the same stuff that the other dude's doing. Who was it? I forgot who said it, but it was a joke. He was saying 50 Shades of Grey. They were like, I think it was Michael Che. He was like, if he wasn't rich, that would have been a CSI episode. But he was hot and he was rich. So it's a sexual fantasy. But if he wasn't hot and rich, he'd be in jail.
So that's what he did in that movie. And that's the thing too, is like as much as what that goes to show you too, as much as we get the message from women that they want us to be like nice and respectful, but that book sold like millions and millions of copies, and that movie made close to $1 billion over the 3 movies that was made. Yeah. So it's one thing to say, and I think that's the thing too to note that I think women have also been taught this is the things that you need to say that you want in order to be able to be passable in society. Because God forbid you say you want some freaky stuff, or you want a guy that's gonna be a little more aggressive, or even women that say they want to be stay-at-home moms, they get shamed. Like, you should want a job and blah blah. You should want a man to just take care of you, yada yada. Like, how are they supposed to know how to react when they get when they do want to, we'll say, be in that more traditionally feminine energy? They get bashed for it also.
There's that, but I'm like, it's the fear of being shamed. It's the fear of being called a hoe. It's the fear of being told you're not progressive enough and all the rest of that. So then there's this image that's being put forth as what I have to say I want. And then I'm miserable when I get what I say. And so then I go do something else. And the person who's literally doing the things that I say that I want, I'm kind of upset with them for listening to me.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to just know. Okay, so dude that just knows is the jerk who's over here like, look, we're just gonna play some games, have some fun, then I'm gonna dismiss you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go do that. All right. But the other side of that too is we act like as a society, men don't get shamed. Like, for instance, body shame a woman online. Just pick one and just start talking about she's too big, she's too little, this isn't big enough, that isn't big enough. You'll get eaten alive.
Yep.
Body shame a man. Same thing. He should know better. It's unhealthy.
Well, it's like you have shows, like average shows like your Simpsons, your Family Guy, where like they do that. They make these guys like bigger guys. They also make them like bigger, bumbling idiots, don't know what they're talking about, have to rely on their women to get them out of situations. God, let's do that with a woman on a cartoon of some kind and see if within a day it's not canceled.
They were one of the guys I was listening to was having this conversation. One of the was it Crimson Capsules?
Yes.
This is new to me. This is all new. He was having that conversation. He was like, basically, that's part of where the downfall of relationships started happening was when we started seeing men, particularly fathers in relationships, being the bumbling idiots. And what happened was America basically started losing respect for the father or losing respect for the man, as a leader. Yeah. Everything from The Simpsons, he took it back to the Cosby Show. Like, he was kind of a goofy.
And that used to annoy me so much. Like, you're a doctor and you're this dumb at home. Like,
and it's like, oh, without his wife, he's useless. It's all about her. And I'm like, I get the whole empowering women from coming from a place of subservience. However, there's a too far. And I feel like we've definitely taken it way too far to where, okay, the issue has been we're uplifting women at the cost of destroying men. And nobody cares because you can't speak up. You can't sit there and say something's wrong with it because then you're jumped on for being, what's the word?
Insensitive?
I had it, misogynistic. I kept trying to say
okay.
Yeah. Just like you're a part of the problem. You're a part of the patriarchy. Like these buzzwords are thrown out so quick. As we've talked about in other contexts.
Yes.
But it's just the whole cancel culture side of things where it's just like you get canceled, you get beaten up, and just kind of taken out of the equation and labeled with all kind of horrible things. And it's just like, okay, so what it comes down to is there's not really going to be good choices. You know what I'm saying? Like there's very few happy marriages. We just saw how many. You know what I'm saying? We're going from Bill Gates. We're going with
man.
We're going with. It's like everybody.
And Kim, like, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Like who do you have to look to now as an example of a positive couple or marriage? You know what I'm saying? Like, I always thought, Will and Jada, they made it work. They had the rocky start, and then you come to find out that's kind of an illusion too. Like, yeah, they're making it work, but it's not what we thought it was.
And also, it also goes to show, like. It also goes to show for like so many men have this idea that you have to, in order to impress women and keep around, you got to make a lot of money. And you just listed 3 examples of people that had all the money in the world practically, and their marriages are still either breaking up or a little bit rocky. So it's like even that message of like, oh, you got to be able to support the family. Isn't that you can tell me Bill Gates was not supporting the family. You can't tell me that freaking.
I think the kids got $1 million each with the divorce to help settle their pain.
Yeah.
Like. That's it.
Oh, and by the way, that's not enough because he's a billionaire. So that's not enough at all.
So they lit him up. Like, you only gave your kids $1 million? That's so disrespectful. Okay.
Shoot. I guess perspective, because I guess in that world, that's like, if you got it, you got more to give or some crap. But
somebody was like, he made that money. They didn't. So
yeah, you weren't in the gym.
I don't know if we can still use that one.
Yeah, no, I'm dating myself now. Yeah.
The whole Kobe situation, like, right? That was a little touchy. Although the concept was amazing at the time, I think we got to let that one go.
Oh man,
Vanessa right there. So they.
But I do kind of want to go back to like the idea of standards and what people deserve, because a big thing that Kevin Samuels talks about, the major issues that come up on his show are women that come on the show and say, I deserve men that are high value despite these things. So, for example, a woman that is severely out of shape, a woman that has 2 or 3 kids, a woman who's maybe only making like $50,000, $60,000 a year, or even women that are making like $100,000 a year and wanting a guy that makes like $300,000 to $400,000 a year. Like, are those things that could be considered realistic standards that women should be able to have? Or is that a thing that you feel is going to be a hindrance to them in terms of getting a high-powered man? And do high-powered, high-value men, is he right in saying that high-value men do not want these things, and if so, why?
Okay, so thing about it is it impossible for them to achieve these things? No, it's just not impossible, which keeps the whole concept going. Issue is, how likely is it for you in particular? And that's really what the question is. So if you're not in that situation, if it's not working out for you, you should probably start adjusting some things. And I say that because, just in a personal life, I had a conversation recently with someone who was telling me about people that they've dated in the past, from celebs to high-powered men, all the rest of this. She was reminding back to her like early 20s, maybe, when she was pulling all these high-value men.
In her 20s, yes.
And regardless of these life changes that have happened in her current situations, that's her valuation of herself. Like there used to be this concept of women's value peaks around 24, 25, and then it starts to decline as they get older. But that was a negative. That was the patriarch. That was, a horrible thing to say. Therefore, we're going to tell women that their value stays no matter what. It doesn't matter how old you are, how big you are, how little you are, how this you are, how that you are. You're valuable because you exist. Okay, self-esteem, all the rest of that. The thing is, going back to these high-value men, they're still looking at what they want. So if they still want that, but you're told that shouldn't matter, your perspective's off. So yeah, you could have pulled that dude then. Can you still now, with your current snapshot of your situation, with how you currently look, with your current family obligations, with your current financial status, with your current situation, are you still seen as high value to a high value man? Or are you holding on to that, I still should be because I was?
Right.
So that's part of the perspective that I think is shifting, where it's like, at some point, you got to kind of ease up to where, A, I'm not the spring chicken I once was. That's been lost in our whole generation. And two, what's wrong with a regular dude? Like, words like basic and average are negatives now.
Right.
Whereas basic should just mean it's enough. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not below standard. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Average literally means the mid-range. This is normal. Everyone thinks they should get above average. I should have the best.
Right.
Why? Like, why do you have to have the best? Why can't you have average? Especially
why can't you see
you're
average?
not the best.
Why can't you see getting average as being the best for you? Because again, it's like, what measure are we measuring average at, in terms of looks, in terms of like their ability to be cordial and their ability to get along with other people and their ability to do various things? Like, what are we adding such a negative value to that? Because if it's about money, like most dudes, honestly, I could make, like, by myself, like $42,000 a year and be good. My bills are low. I have a low car payment and a low apartment payment. So my yearly, I still have an overage at the end of that. You have dudes out there making $100,000, but their bills are $110,000. They're technically broke, but they make more money, but they're technically broke. But like, so how are we measuring this value?
Well, they're going to look at the 110,000 dude as high value or higher value because he makes more. It's a shifted perspective. It's not about what you save. It's about what you look like you earn. So that's where a lot of people are getting fooled, because they're going for the shiny things. This looks pretty. That's what I want. And I've also been amazed recently, noticing it used to be the accusation that men are visual, men are all about looks, men are superficial. I've been hearing that more from women than I've ever heard from men. Whereas the initial first comment is about beauty, is about looks. The evaluation is, what's the physical? And I'm like, it's unspoken. We can't talk about it. It's not a real thing because that's men's problem. But it's constant. You hear a woman talking about, oh, I'm in a relationship. Look how hot he is.
Yep.
That's your number one go-to, not how well he treats you, not, what type of a person he is, not, his charitable donations to the world, not his influence on society. He's hot.
None of that. Yeah.
That's what you're proud of.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I feel like it's basically been a flip-flop of everything that was wrong with men in society, women have decided to take over. And that is the whole thing of destroying the patriarchy and equality is we're just going to switch places. We're going to teach you not to be this way, and then we're going to take over and be this way. But we're not going to change the narrative. We're still going to say it's you.
Yes.
And that's the part where I'm like,
and then we're still going to want the things that we're actually naturally attracted to. So even if we change you, we're going to change you, then not like that thing we change you into, and we'll look for the other thing we want to get in the first place.
Oh, it's a meme. It's a whole meme about it. It's the whole story of man and woman dating, and then he has to like do all this stuff, take her to the right places and buy her stuff and get her stuff and do stuff for her. And then he has to marry her to keep her happy, and he does, and he has to go and work and make all this money, and then she's mad because he's never home, and he's tired when he gets home and doesn't do all this stuff. So then she goes and cheats on him with a dude who can fulfill her sexually and emotionally, who's not all tired all the time from going out to work. And then when she leaves, she gets to take half of what he worked for because, you know, that's her right as a woman to get half of the divorce because of, you know, standards and stuff.
Yeah.
And all this is based on like archaic marriages where women couldn't own property, couldn't work, couldn't earn. So it made sense. Whereas now women actually out earn men by a lot. So why does it still make sense?
Yep. So the ones that are graduating at higher rates now and getting more higher end jobs and places like that, which again, if they're working there hard, it is well deserved, but that does have an effect on their ability to date because they're still wanting guys that are in higher positions and making more money, even though if they're making $200,000 to deceive of a company, well, a guy that's a plumber, he could be a good plumber and make $100,000 a year. He ain't starving, but he's making less than her. So now he's average. And
not only that, his status, part of what she wants in a man is somebody she can brag about to her friends and family. Like that's one of the unspoken requirements. I don't even hear anybody else talk, even the other dudes out there breaking stuff down. Yep. They'll talk about money, they'll talk about looks and all the rest of the stuff. But honestly, it's bragging rights. It's look what I got.
And it's funny because they get on us for, you know, being about looks, but they're looking at they're all about what's the overall aesthetic of the relationship going to be. So we're looking at just the
right story, the how we met story. Like a lot of women don't like to say, oh yeah, online, because it's not a good status symbol. So we got to make another story for that.
I've had that. Yep.
It's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about the reality of the situation. It's about what picture can I paint it to look like to present myself in the best light. And I'm just like, okay. So as a dude, you got to be the person that she can brag about. Like, that's really what you got to do. Mm-hmm. So you got to look the part. You got to act the part. You got to have the credentials. You got to have the finances. Because if she can't take pictures on vacation, or if she can't post on the Instagram about all the drink that she just got from the sugar factory today, you see what I'm saying? Like, her friends is posting this. She got to keep up with them. So you're not providing me with what that is. I mean, I know the house is cool and, you know, the bills are paid, but we ain't been to Miami and everybody going to Miami. So you're failing as a man because we ain't going on vacation.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, you're doing the bills, right? Like, that's not enough. Taking care of the house ain't enough.
Yeah.
You ain't bought me a Birkin bag recently. My last one's getting old.
And it's funny because, like, for all the status stuff that they're looking at, and I thought about this about how, you know, they want a certain status, but do they take into account that the mistakes that they decide to make earlier in their life lowers their status to us? Like deciding, you know, at 18 or 19 to have 2 or 3 kids, and now you're 31 and you're single and you want to get a high-powered man. Realistically, is a man going to look at that and say, that's high value also? Or if you did like a lot of drugs, we did like other mistakes. It's like, these are things that I don't think women are taking into account, the fact that they want all this stuff in spite of their mistakes. And we're like, because of these mistakes, we might play around with you. You might want to hook up, but realistically as a man, I got to think about like, I'm going to, just like they're valuing, I'm going to think about, I got to bring you around my friends and my mom and my parents. And when they ask, oh, how'd you guys meet? Or what's your life like? Is your life going to be one that I'm going to be embarrassed of, or one that's going to be like, oh, this goes along with my family? And that goes for us too.
To an extent. The only reason I'm kind of like hesitant is because it happens. It does happen, and that's what they look at. They're like, oh, see, it happened with this one, or this one did. Like, the whole concept, I guess we can't use the technical terms, but the whole dating up. Mm-hmm. Yes. Just, it's the concept of, okay, women date up. Women date someone who they consider better. And it used to be even or better. Like I've heard that they date at the same level or higher.
Yeah,
but
I think women date up, and then men's sexual things go up. So you can't go if we've done some sexual stuff, we can't go back to not doing that thing. So for them, if they've dated a certain level, they don't want to go back to a lower level.
Well, the thing with that though, just sticking with the women's side of it, is you're dealing with inflated self-perception for one. So whatever level she thinks she's at, like a woman could be here, like market value dating wise, but she thinks she's here.
Therefore,
well, she's here, but she's only willing to date somebody here because they have to be above where she thinks she is.
Gotcha.
Then two, it doesn't like it makes sense because the opposite to that is men then therefore date down. Like if women are dating up, then by definition, men are dating down.
I wonder if they ever see that, if they evaluate it like that, like, oh, we have to be, because we're thought to be like, I have to be lower than a man in order to be attracted to him.
Well, that's the thing, because it's not spoken. It's just now being verbalized for the first time that I've heard, like in the last maybe year. Okay. So what you're dealing with is Kane Carter. You know, I've been watching.
I do.
Old school. He brought up some of these points, but he had one talking about Superman. And he started off, he was like, I'm better than you. And if I wasn't, you wouldn't give me the time of day. So I know I am. And at the time, I was like, oh my God, he's misogynistic. He's terrible. He's this, he's that. But now that we're learning how this whole thing works, A, he had women throwing themselves at him, for one. And two, the dudes who put women on a pedestal, they don't want. Because as a man, you're saying, oh, you're better than me. She's like, oh, well, then I don't want you. Because I need somebody better than me.
Yep. I know my own family personally that, like, you know, because I come from a family, my grandma was one of 15 kids. And so they grew up in a strong household. They had a lot of women in the family. And a lot of them were, we'll say, alpha women. And a lot of them got married. Some of them actually had their husbands change their last name to theirs. And none of those women are married anymore. And a lot of them were like that kind of masculine energy leaning, you know, had the head of their school board, whatever, this is that, and those marriages didn't work out. So, and it's not necessarily just because they were just alpha, but it's like they were the ones leading the relationship. So technically you would think, oh, the woman's leading it, she should know what she wants, then it's going to be work out the way it needs to. But it's like, no, just on a naturalistic level, women don't want to lead a relationship. And when they are given the leadership position, a lot of times, because, and I don't want to say it's probably sound sexist regardless how I say it, but it's like, women can be they can make their decisions based on the emotions of the moment. So unfortunately, they can make a decision like now that 5 minutes from now, they might not want to have that same decision have been made. Men typically tend to be a little bit better. Like, I made this decision, so for better or worse, I'm sticking to this because I already made my word on this being the decision.
Part of that's taught too.
You said what?
Part of that's taught. Men are taught you have to be decisive. You have to lead. You have to make a decision and suffer the consequences of your decision. Whereas women are taught more so, you can change your mind. It's a woman's perspective, a woman's prerogative to change her mind. Like it's normalized to want conflicting things and be okay with it. I want to be taken care of, but I want to be independent. To a man, like, what? Like you do realize you're saying two diametrically opposing things that you want both to exist at the same time. And so what happens is you create paradoxes. You create a scenario where you're unhappy because you don't have something you want. Because if you get what you want, you don't have what you also want.
Yes.
So you can't be happy. You can't, because you don't have what you want.
Right.
Even if you have what you want. So then if you switch and then get what you want, you don't have what you want.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to put this in my head. Like, I think that's the conflict for women is that, so let's say, for example, you know, because guys will be like, hey, just tell me how you want me to be or tell me what to do this and that. So they'll say, okay, I want this thing. So guys being literal, we go into do that one specific thing. And the smarter guys that don't ask know, hey, today she might want me to be, you know, nice and agreeable. And tomorrow she might need conflict. And I got to do both of those things. So if I don't ask her, I'll be able to give both of those things, no harm, no foul. But if I ask her, she says, I just want peace. And all I give her is peace. She's going to be feeling like she's missing something and I won't know why. And then she'll leave. So it's like, you have to know that as a guy, what those things that she needs that are going to be conflicting.
We're not being taught that as men. We're being taught give her whatever she wants, treat her like a queen, give her the world. She's the princess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what at least this last generation of men were taught. And there's these rebellious dudes that don't listen to that. And that's the ones that women are chasing after.
Yeah.
But the ones that are listening, like for most men, if you give men a set of rules, okay, this is how this game is played. These are the rules. If you follow the plan, you win. Cool. They take the rules, they learn them, they follow the plan. And they lost. What happened? I followed the plan. This is the rules, right?
It's like Vegas, like, hey, the rules of blackjack. You play blackjack this way, then you might win. I might win. You might win.
It feels like we're playing a game called You Lose. So what are the rules? Well, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff to do, and then you can do it or you cannot do it, and then I decide if you win or lose.
It's like, I'm not going to play. You win. Wait, what?
Yeah, so the dude that says I don't want to play, they're like, win. And the dude is like, okay, wait, so if I roll the dice and then jump 3 times, you lost. But no, I did. Okay, I'm going to jump 5 times this time. You lost. Okay, this time I'm going to jump and roll the dice at the same time while spinning on my head and doing black flip. You definitely lost. Okay, this dude did none of that. He did nothing and he's winning. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be like that guy. Don't be like that guy. He's a jerk. We don't want you to be like that guy. You need to be like the guy who's listening. I don't want to play anymore. And that's what's happened. That's what the whole going the own way thing is. I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. Because whatever I did, I lost.
It's funny. It's like, as much as I understand that, like, I'm much like, you know, I understand the frustration because I've definitely been there where it's like you try to be your best person. You try to treat women nice. I've had so many women that I've dated that they end up dating me, but like early on, like I'm that guy that's a gentleman and I'm actually listening to them and being respectful. And a lot of them don't know how to handle that. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm on the checklist. But so I get that, but I'm also like, I'm not the person that's like, people need to just completely walk away from dating altogether. Because I in my own experience, I know that as I got to kind of understand really the psychology of everybody, of men and women, and then what things work and why they don't work, and how to be at times, and why women do need conflict at times, and other times they need you to stand up for yourself and not give them what they want, yada yada. It became a lot easier. But I understand for guys that haven't gone through that process, it can feel like you're being a fraud version of yourself. To be said, like, for example, simple things like, okay, so in order to get a girl to having a raised interest, I have to go on a date with her, show her a good time, and then not try to call her for 4 days. And that's going to make her like me. Like, but that feels fake, but I like her now. Well, it's what works. Do you want to do what works, or do you want to do what you're doing and be yourself and then not get the girl?
I'm going to tell you, that's what's throwing off a lot of men. Because most dating advice until recently was, oh, just be yourself. Especially from women. Oh, just be yourself. And it's not working. And you're like, okay, so what's wrong with me? Because I'm being myself. Okay, no. Okay, be yourself, but just change everything. What? So don't be myself. No, be yourself, because we want you to be yourself, but we want yourself to be a different you. Okay, so what?
And they can't explain that.
Dude. And at the end of the day, it's stop asking what you should do. It literally is just be confident that I'm the man, regardless of what you think of me.
Yeah. Well, it's stop asking, and then also stop doing these various behaviors that to us women seem like you're being needy and obsessive. And unfortunately, a lot of that behavior is what guys do, which is like, I'm going to text her all the time, call all the time, invite her on a date every day. We're thinking if they like us, they want to do this. But to them, it's like creeped out behavior. But they don't understand that's currently us being ourselves because we haven't been taught anything different. And that's where women...
Because it's like... That's the same things that women say they want. Oh, I want a guy who's attentive. I want a guy who texts back. I want a guy who, worships me. They'll say this kind of stuff all the time. But then if he's not the picture of what a man is, then it's stalking.
Yeah.
Because if I promise you, if that was Brad Pitt doing it.
That's what's been my argument.
It's everything I've ever wanted. But then if it's Jack Black, he's kind of creepy.
Well, it's funny because
same actions.
Every
motion is the same. Every word is the same.
I've literally brought this thought and notion to women because I'll always give the example. Just give you like, oh, I'll go on a date with a woman, show her a good time, and then I'll wait 4 days to call her. And I always got pushback, and I say, okay. So realistically, as a guy, I'm waiting, but I could be doing other things. I could be busy. I have a job to do. I have family I'm talking to. I might not even think about calling you for 4 days. And they're like, well, that means you don't like blah, blah. I was like, okay, fine. So let's say, don't know the hot. I used to always use Denzel because he was the hot guy back in the day. I don't know who the hotter guy would be. Oh, so we'll say Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's on set for 4 days and he can't call you. You're telling me if he calls you on day 4 after a date, you're going to reject Michael B. Jordan's phone call and say, "Oh, you're playing games. I'm out." Like, no, you're going to give him some leeway. Oh, he was busy. He was on this and that. Okay, so any other guy in your life is doing the same crap. It might not be on the level of Michael B. Jordan, but he's got a job. He's got other stuff. But more importantly, you need time away from him to actually be more attracted to him by thinking about him. And he needs to not be under your neck all the time, because if he is, you're going to say he's being himself, but he's going to be the obsessive kind that looks like he's too needy for your attention, and you're not going to be attracted. So for your benefit, he's got to stay away.
That was some of the best advice I got. It was from a female friend of mine who was like telling me about a dude she was talking to who was doing too much. And I was like, okay, so like, what are you supposed to do? She said, okay, go away long enough for me to miss you. And it clicked. It stuck. Like, okay, I get it. Because that's what she wants. Yeah. I've had other women try to explain this concept, but at the time it was frustrating. Of like, she'll want something. And then as a guy, you know, we're problem solvers. So she's like, I want chocolate cake. Chocolate cake sounds good. Let's go get some chocolate cake. Chocolate cake. No, I don't want to go get chocolate cake. But you just said you wanted some chocolate cake. Right, but I want to want chocolate cake.
Yes. It's
to
literally
men, this is brain melting.
Yeah.
Words. It was a white man can't jump. She was like, I'm thirsty. He got up and got us some water, and they had a whole fight. She got mad at him. Why would you do that? He was like, because you said I did what you said you wanted. She said, no, I wanted you to empathize with me and say that you know also what it's like to thirst. And he was like, if I say I'm thirsty and somebody has a glass of water, I'm going to take a sip. That's what I'm saying. Thirst. Like, it was they had a whole fight. He ended up throwing the water on her and storming out. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was like,
it's like a lot of stuff they say is relational. It's like I realize too, a lot of stuff women say is just to have the conversation, because they bond through conversation and empathy. So yeah, I'm thirsty. It's like, oh yeah, babe, I'm thirsty too, man. It's been a while since I had a drink. It's like, that's now a conversation they're having versus just like, boom, it's solved. But now you cut out the conversation part that she wanted to have and the feeling part that she wanted to have. And it's like
share the experience with you.
Yeah. And this is always stuff that it really irks men. But I found once I was just like, okay, I could either spend my life trying to explain to women why the things that they're thinking and saying are dumb, or I could say, this is just how they operate. If I know this going in, then I can have a better idea of how to operate. It's like learning Spanish. I can be mad at a Spanish person. I can be mad at
because you're saying all women are the same. Not all. We're all different in different ways, and you have to treat everyone as an individual.
They're quick to tell us all men are this, all men are that, but then we get on them like, all women. Don't say all women. I'm different. It's like, and I've said this before, all women are the same in that they all think they're different. And they want to feel different because if you see them as the same, who's to say that you're going to choose somebody else over her? Because if you're all the same, then she's not special.
Because she's the bestest ever. She's a 10, and you're lucky that she's in your life. Come on now.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's just, to me, if it was on a really even type of playing field and it was honest, it'd be one thing. But the fact that we're playing these games of,
yes,
we're going to say one thing, mean something completely different, and then you're supposed to actually understand something completely different that you do.
Yes.
So you have to basically speak 3 or 4 different languages to play this game. And most dudes aren't bi or trilingual. Yeah. So and confused.
Symbols.
And after your second or third attempt of like, okay, this doesn't make any sense at all. What is going on? Like you said, you can either learn or you can be frustrated by it. But at some point you're like, you kind of start asking, is it worth it? Because where does this lead? Where does this go?
Yeah.
And so a lot of men were looking at, where does it lead to? Well, relationship leads to marriage, family, kids. Okay, let me peer down that road. And that leads us back to what we started talking about in the beginning of divorce, separation, custody, child support, alimony. This dude's paying millions a month. I'm not even exaggerating. At least thousands.
Facts. Yep. I feel sorry for Robert De Niro right now because he's paying like out the butt. At his age, he has to keep working because he's paying so much in alimony. Keep in mind, his kids are out of the house, and this woman has a job that pays a few million a year as well.
It doesn't matter. You had the gumption to think that you could love this woman properly and didn't do it. So now you owe her for the rest of
that's even sad part too. With his particular situation, the story came out that she was actually very much a nag, and that he was like, for example, he'd have to call her on set like every hour or so to make sure that she knows where he's at, yada, yada, yada. Like the stories that come out about this woman alone have been like, she was a handle to deal with, and he stuck with it. And then the divorce thing happened.
Cheaper to keep her.
The what?
Happy wife, happy life. It's cheaper to keep her. That's the old school wisdom that was passed down to men to, you know, you go, you find a wife because that's a good thing. That's what you're looking for. That's, you know, all life is about finding a wife, having some kids, and then it doesn't even have to be that you mess up. Yeah. It really doesn't anymore. It's not even, oh, he cheated and that was it. It really is just, we got divorced. Sometimes she cheated. And we got divorced. And then, you know what? State law says you still owe me this, and this. What?
Oh, that doesn't even get into like the state laws that are like, you know, if you get into a relationship with a woman that has kids, because I think about the high value men again, like if these guys get into relationships with women that have kids, or if they get married to her and then she has a kid and then they find out later that she cheated and it was not his kid, in either of those situations, courts will still be like, well, you know, the kid already expects you to pay money, so you got to keep paying it.
It's cases of, because, you know, men can't be the R word, you know, it can't be forced, although it does happen.
Greg Adams say graped. They can't be graped.
But if by some chance that did happen, or the whole pulled the condom out the trash can thing, or any type of situation, where the DNA does match, regardless of your consent to said situation, that's all you're definitely locked in.
I don't know if I sent you that story.
18 years, like that's official. There's no.
There was a story recently. I just saw. I don't know if I sent it to you or somebody else, but like this woman was on a date with a guy, and they were starting to hook up, and then she said that she wanted him to finish himself inside her, and he was like, "I'm not gonna do that. Whatever. I'm gonna get some protection." This lady pulled out a gun and said, "You are going to do it inside of me," and so he had to do it. And then, like, I don't know if she got pregnant or not, but he was like trying to go to court or whatever, and they were like, well, if she ends up getting pregnant, you got to take care of the kid. Held at gunpoint. Still no way to get off.
Oh, how about if you're married, she has a kid, and puts you on the birth certificate, doesn't matter if it's yours or not. DNA doesn't have to match.
Wow.
Kid has your last name, it'll hold up. Damn. That's the type of stuff where it's just like, so then you're looking at dudes that like, okay, the whole game is rigged. I don't think I want to play. Oh my God, you're so horrible. You're a detriment to society. You're a failure as a man for not wanting to play this rigged game.
Yeah.
Not wanting to sit down at the table where you know you're going to lose and everyone else has guns pointed at you, but you're not man enough to sit down at the table.
Yeah.
Or real talk, because you're not man enough to take care of another man's children. You're not man enough to financially be responsible for my entire lifestyle that I choose, that I want, that you have to be financially responsible for. You're not man enough to fulfill sexually. We're talking about body shaming. Let's go back to men's sizes. You're not tall enough. Your body part, the proper sizing. You're not ready and willing at a moment's notice when I want you to be. All of these things are dings on your manhood that are totally within bounds for her to beat you over the head with whenever she feels like.
Really bad for short guys. Like they get it like some of the worst. Like if you're like 5'5" as a guy, half your dating life is unless you just quote unquote have a really strong game. But a lot of women are like, even if you're like handsome and have muscles, but you're still shorter than me, and I want to wear heels, so you're out.
Well, here's the thing: it's not that no woman will date them, because they date all the time.
I didn't say no. When I said it's a harder pull.
Well, the thing I found is, this is a stereotype, but there's the whole Napoleon complex where you got a short dude who just decided he was the king of the world and wears this arrogance on his sleeve and is just a jerk to everybody, which somehow is attractive, and women go for it, although they'll never date a dude that's shorter than them. But this guy, so that was the video. I don't know if I mentioned it during our talk, but we mentioned it before, where there was a man kind of giving, there's two different lists of what women say they want and then what women actually go for. And these lists don't match, essentially. So that was part of that conversation where a woman will tell you, I want a man who's this, and this. And then she'll date somebody who's nothing like the list she got. And so there's a woman responding to his criticisms. And she was like, well, it's not that she's not saying what she wants. Those are things she wants in a relationship long term. What she's attracted to is a different list.
Yeah.
And the miscommunication is that's what the dude is looking for. What things make you attracted to a dude? And she's like, well, I want these qualities in somebody I'm going to be with on forever. Great. But if I have all those qualities, you still won't talk to me because you're not attracted initially. So I need the other list. But we don't know to ask that question because we don't know it's 2 lists. So when they broke the second list, that's where all those kind of things come in. But the thing about that is they can be overridden because there's like a hierarchy to that list. So like I'll never date a dude who's shorter than me, but if he got money and he's kind of cute and he dresses right and he got some status,
all these asterisks next to these things,
Okay, so now I'm over here with Lil Wayne. I'm sorry, ladies. I have yet to hear a woman say Lil Wayne is attractive, that she thinks he's hot, that she thinks he's cute, that she's like, oh my God, he's such a good-looking person.
Yeah.
But when you look at Lil Wayne's track record, Lil Wayne has pulled
that one right now too. It's like, woo, like a model.
Ridiculously high-value women we have ever seen. Not one, several. And I'm like, all cool with like, no, we good. What? This dude. Oh this dude. Fellas, I don't know what your confidence level is like. Just on a physical scale. Would you look in the mirror and be like, Lil Wayne is more attractive than me? I don't look as good as Lil Wayne. I don't know a lot of men that would think that they are uglier than Lil Wayne. Not saying Lil Wayne's ugly, but just perspective-wise that, I'm not as attractive.
I don't think he thinks he's all that attractive. He just knows flag like that.
As far as women are concerned, he's much more attractive than you'll ever be. I promise you. Same thing, Jay-Z. They've been talking about Jay-Z forever. His nose, his lips, he was like a camel. He talked about it all the time. Jay-Z is like, there's no such thing as an ugly billionaire. I'm cute. And you know why we believe him? Beyonce.
Yep.
Because, bro, you're not pulling Beyonce. I'm sorry. I don't care how pretty you think you are, homie. You're not pulling Beyonce. You're just not. It didn't happen. We know that because she's done. She's there. One man cheated on her repeatedly, and she's still there.
She knows because and that's exactly Kevin Samuels says all the time. He says high value men don't cheat; they exercise their options. Because realistically, Beyonce knows if they break up, she could probably get somebody else. As high value as Jay, probably not as easy as with 3 kids. Probably not as easy.
If you're Beyonce, why do you need somebody high value as Jay? He's talking about his billions. That's the other B, and the other B. Oh, can't forget about the other B. That's her billion. If she got $1 billion, why does she need his $3 billion?
3 times as much.
Like, because you got to date up.
Yeah.
You got to date somebody better. So if you're Beyonce, what are your options? You ain't got a lot to pick from. It's like 4 dudes. And they met young. So he was better when they got married. We don't know where they at now, but she already in.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it too. It's like the intro phase. And then it's like, then you got to keep her because y'all could be together for 10 years. If she keep rising and you don't, now she looking at you sideways like, well,
and that goes back to that goes back to what you're talking about the like the women wanting 2 lists of things, like because I had this thing too of like, what attracts women versus what's going to keep them. And I think I used to watch the show The Pickup Artists, and I used to watch like Mystery and all those other guys back in the day, the original PUAs that were like teaching guys how to pick up this, and they were always very good at what they did. But when I read the game, what I recognized is that these dudes were all great at the pickup phase of the initial attraction and dating phase, but then they try to keep doing those same things in the long-term game, and it didn't work. So they knew what women wanted on list A, very good at list A, but they were trying to use list A when the women were transitioning to list B. And that's where they would start, not doing good. And most of those guys are still single because they were like, oh, this isn't, why can I keep this thing going? Why, in the book, Mystery's all whining about women and stuff and being obsessive and stuff, but he wasn't like that in the initial phase. But what he was trying to,
that's why it's a game. That's why it's a trick. It's just like, to me, that's the problem with the 2 lists, is because the qualities that make a man attractive are not even leading into the qualities that make a man a good partner. Yeah. They're not even in the same universe, which is why I'm like, if these are your ultimate goals, your initial attraction points should have some way to lead to that. And that's what always boggled my mind about it. It's like, I'm gonna go with How I Met Your Mother, because that's the show. Gotta go back to Ted. and Ted and was it Robin or somebody he was dating? Probably Robin, because the whole show's about Robin. He was like, okay, I messed up. I did this, I did that, I did that. He said, I suck at dating. I'm terrible picking up women. But I'd be a great boyfriend. I'd be a great husband. He said, that's the stuff I'm good at. So if like somebody could just work with me through this awkward first stage, then I'd kill it over here.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, where the dudes that are built for the long term don't look like the shiny thing you're chasing after in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, that's what I want women to grasp. Like, the thing that looks good day one is going to be terrible down the line.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so many can't see it, and then they live it, and they have all these consequences on the other end of it, but they're still chasing the same things. And it's just like, did you not learn that the first 4 times? You still, it's like the dog chasing the car, and then it catches the car and hits the car. Oh, hey, hurt, and then and then you see another car and chases after, dude, you just almost fell off a cliff chasing the car. Stop chasing the car.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't get it.
I feel like if I feel like, because I'm looking at like the analogy of like the women's lists, and I think with men they think like, okay, it's like I got to do list A, and if I do list A right, I'll do list B right, and whatever. I kind of think of it like I always think of video game terms. So I think of it like, okay, you're playing Mario, right? You have 8 levels, and you want to. Most guys are ready to get to level 8, but you got to first know level 1 through 7 and know how to do those properly to be able to get to 8. Now, if you get 8 and you win 8, well, there's going to be bonus levels that come on after that are going to be. So basically, it's like the list is going to be, it's like when you complete this list, now we're going to do some more add-ons to this list. But also, it's a whole game. She still may want to go back to level 3 every once in a while, and level 2 and level 1. So it's like you have to know this list as it grows. You got to add on the new stuff, but still every so often go back to the previous stuff to keep things interesting. And it's like, for me, I can handle it, that thought process where it's like, okay, let me go back to like what our first date was. Let me go back to like when I used to do this thing, but then I'm trying some new stuff over here too. You know?
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but I also like playing games. So, you know.
That's the thing. It's like, in Mario, you get to mess up. And if you mess up, you get to start the level over. And you keep trying until you get it right.
Yes.
That's not how dating works. In dating, you mess up, that's over. You got to play a whole nother game. And while it's a similar first level, it's not the same first level. So you still kind of like, it's like you playing Mario and you mess up Mario. You can't keep playing Mario with the same girl. You now got to go play Sonic. You're playing Sonic and it's similar, it's the same buttons, but now I got
the whole catalog of games ready to play.
There's no bricks to jump into. This is a different first. What? Okay, it's kind of then. Okay, you mess up Sonic. Now I got to go play Double Dragon. There's not even any rings to collect. There's no coins. There's nothing. I got to beat stuff up over here. So it's like each game you're picking up new skills, but they don't translate to the other games. Is my only problem with this, where it's like,
I don't know, because I think like a lot of
eventually you get the skill set of games. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm just going through Nintendo games for those that weren't following original Nintendo, because we old school.
Well, but to that point, like
and Sega.
Well, say like you have all those games. Let's say all those games are different, but you have the same controller. So for me, I'm like, you know, like for example, in most games now, you run by pressing B. So if most girls, even if I'm playing even I'm dating different women, most of them will go for like okay, you know, take them on a first date, plan the date, and then don't call for 4 days, go on another date. By the second or third date, you're doing a kiss and then having sex. Like there are certain similarities to each of these, to playing each of these games, quote unquote, even if they're like looking different.
So okay, the thing with that, because you're right, and I kind of admitted that towards the end of my analogy, like eventually you just get good at games.
Yeah.
But it's a failure-based system. Oh, yeah, it very much is. Yeah. It's not reward-based. It's not follow a plan and these are the instructions, do a good job and you win. It's fail. Then kind of get ahead. And then you fail at that level for a while. Right. And then you got to start over. This is all with different women. To be successful as dating, you have to date a lot of different women. Yeah. So it kind of shows why the whole player thing is the winners, because they the ones playing all the different games. Yeah. They eventually get the pattern of, okay, this is how I can do this. And even then, they still fail a lot. Oh, yeah. But every now and then one hits, and then that works for a while till they fail that one.
Well, so if we go with the Mario analogy, I think about to like when the first Mario came out in like 1985. God, I feel old. So that Mario game versus the one that came out a couple years ago for Mario Odyssey, it's like it goes from like the 2D thing to the 3D thing. There's different stuff to do. But at this point, I know the basis of the Mario game, which is like, okay, I'm going to run and jump a lot. There's going to be some secret stuff I got to look out for. I know when I see a corner that looks like there's nothing in it, I got to explore it. I got to get coins. I got like, there's enough stuff in the 30 years of Mario that I played to where I know as a Mario game, there's definitely some things I'm going to already look for. And then there's still be some things that I'll fail at, but I'll overall know how to play this new Mario game because of all the other Mario games that I played.
So this is where the whole high value men thing comes in, based on this whole thing. So the men who are best at dating are the men who dated the most. We can kind of go with that. The men who date a lot learn the best way to date, where to take them, how to talk to them, what to do, what to say, how to look, what to drive. They got the game down. Yeah. So I'm great at dating. I can attract any woman I want, right? Because I'm great at this. I got it down. Now, I meet her. Everything goes according to plan. I got her hooked. She wants to be with me because I got the game down pat. Cool. Played this level. That was fun. Why do I keep playing the same Mario game? The whole thing of high value men exercise options.
Yeah.
Because, okay, once you play Mario and you beat it, you beat the game. Then, like you said, the bonus levels, you play a couple bonus levels. I'm not playing Mario.
Yeah.
Because I know this game inside and out. It was cool. It was fun. Now I'm going to go play Grand Theft Auto. Something different. That's how high value men think.
Yeah. I need more of a challenge.
Women want to lock down, and then now we're going to be married and stay together forever because I found what I want in a relationship. Versus the dude that's like, I don't play a lot of games. I'm not great at this game playing level. Yeah. I just want something that works, that makes sense, that I can stay and be cool with.
Yeah.
They don't want that guy because it's not as fun because he don't know what he's doing. So that's the which you want. And that's the whole thing. It's like, I want the dude that plays a lot of games. I'm mad when he wants to keep playing other games. Versus the dude that only wants this game. I don't want him because he's not good at playing games. So nobody wins.
And also the high value man may have a different set of rules. Like as we learned with Bill Gates, hey, we can get married, but I got a side chick over here I'm gonna still see once a year. You gotta be cool with that. And do women want to play by those games in order to be able to play into the getting a high value man? But are they going to be cool with that versus like, hey, this guy's not as quote unquote high value, but he'll be faithful as heck? What are your options?
That's kind of the choice. But going back to an earlier point, a lot of women don't see that second guy as a man because he doesn't fit that concept of what men are like. So he's not an option to date. The one that would be faithful to you and just you, he's too needy. He's too clingy. So all those negatives in the dating world are exactly what would make a good husband. But they're turnoffs when you're dating. Yeah. And that's the part that's like, okay, so as a man, you have to learn to let go of the things that would bond you to your partner to make you more player-like, to get her, and then turn those things back on once you have her. To me, that's a stupid game. I'm sorry. I can't get past that. Like, I want to meet somebody, have a great conversation with them, have a great time, get to know each other better, build a relationship, and then that's it. We go off and live our lives together, grow old together, the whole line. Great. Problem is, that's too clingy. Oh my God, you're talking about marriage. Oh my God, you're talking about loving people. this is it's too much. But women do it all the time.
Oh yeah, and I actually found it's better. That's my secret's always been like, let the woman bring that stuff up. Let her bring up when are we going to be in a relationship. Let her bring up, can I see you more? Let her bring up, are we going to get married? Because that means it's on their timing, and it's not going to look needy come from me. As long as I'm the cool guy that's asking for dates and they're saying yes, I'm pretty much good. And that took me a long time to learn because I was at one point I was like, it's been 2 months. Like I needed the clarification that this is leading somewhere. And then I realized, wait, like the clarification will come when they do these certain things. So until that happens, just know that you're just dating. And that also means you're still free to do what you want to do until she wants to be more serious.
So the tips for success for dating, guys, in case you weren't writing all these down, detachment. Don't be connected to, don't be like anxious about trying to further things that don't give a F attitude. That's your best bet. Be detached. Don't further things along. Let her kind of lead the way, but don't let her know she's leading the way. because you still got to be the leader,
Yes.
but don't tell her that you're leading from behind the scenes where you're letting her lead by leading. Sorry, I confused myself with that one. So, yeah, and then learn the skills of how to attract every woman, or at least most of them, because you need that skill set to get the one that you want to be with. You got to be able to attract all of them to get the one.
Get the one.
Yes. They're not all the same, but she don't want you if no one else wants you.
So learn the skills to attract all women differently.
Because if she don't want you, then why should I want you? And make sure that you don't ever let her think she's better than you, but you respect her. And don't put her on a pedestal, but don't disrespect her, but act like you're ahead, but don't let her know that you know that.
Oh, and also, because women are always saying like, oh, you should find a man that loves you more, blah, blah, blah. But we know where that gets you. So yes, love her more, but at the same time, don't necessarily show her the high amount that you have. Like you got to curtail it.
You gotta love her, but like not let her see it.
Yeah. Like it's like you have to care for her, but not in a way that's going to creep her out or make her feel like, because you have to make her feel like she could lose you, even though you are desperately holding on to her. Like it's all these weird rules that are like, I could see why men would be like, this is dumb as crap.
So the real dating advice to dudes that are like, I'm confused. What we're actually saying is just go play Mario. Like that's really the message of this whole conversation. Just play Mario, bro. It's much simpler.
Oh my god.
Or Madden or whatever your game is. Just stick with that. You know what I mean? And then when you go to the mall, get a cool little hat, wear a new cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, maybe a little chain and like some J's, and just walk around the mall like that. Don't say nothing.
Say nothing.
If baddest thing you've ever seen, just look at her.
Yeah.
And go get like a churro. And then walk out the store. Just you at the GameStop. You got your game and your churro, and you walking out. And she's just like, "Did you see him? He looked at me and ignored me because all these other dudes approached me and wanted to talk to me, but he didn't. So he's different."
And now I want him to approach me. Yo, I've been at parties before where like I'll see a woman from across the room and I like she's looking and I know she wants me. I know she wants me to talk to her. And she gives me those eyes and I do it and I go over there and all of a sudden it's like nothing happens. And it's just like, what the? It's a hard life.
But no, jokes aside, the rules, the non-rules, the back and forth, it is confusing. It is a lot going on. And the dudes that are winning aren't really winning, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Like, I really feel like no one's really happy with all of this right now. There's a few people making it work, but it's not like I did it right, everything's perfect. It's like it's cool. We're getting there. We're going to do our best. And that's what a relationship kind of is. Like, you're going to work through some stuff. You're going to fight through some stuff. You're going to make it work. And then just enjoy the good times when you get them.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not there yet, there's ways to get there, but you're going to have to change some things. Just yourself, it's not real. Like, be honest, but put yourself in a position that the honest you is what works. You got to find balance. You just have to.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I did want to touch on one more thing, which is obviously like the Crimson Capsule community is getting more well known. And like, it's weird because like a lot of the information is coming out about how dudes should best be or practices they should do in order to date effectively are coming from that community. That said, there's been, complaints from, we'll say beta guys and from like women out there that'll say like, oh, that there's a lot of information is toxic. How dare you say like, not to, like to be disrespectful because they're disrespectful. You're saying things like, ignore women, don't call her, don't be so eager, yada, yada, yada. Like there's a lot of advice that's given that people say is toxic advice. What do you feel about just that community in general? Like in terms of the kind of advice they give, do you see some of it as being toxic versus helpful? And then if that's not a non-toxic place to go, where would men go to get better advice that would not be as toxic, if that was your opinion?
Well, as I kind of snuck in while you were saying it, that's the same advice the women are giving, though. Like, it's just the fact that men are saying it is what's making it toxic at this point.
Interesting.
A lot of the guys who are having these conversations are married. So it's the whole thing of like, it's possible to make it work. It's just been made really difficult, and you literally have to find one person that you can work with. Like, that's the goal. You find one that's not playing these games the same way, and you make it work. But as far as the rest of that, like, there is a lot of this happening. There's a lot of toxicity on both sides, and that's a part of the thing that doesn't get talked about a lot. There's some toxic feminine traits that we can't address because we have to pretend that everything women do is perfect. And it's like, that's not real. So we're not going to have balance until we can at least have that conversation. As long as we're on two different sides, it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? As long as there's winners and losers, as long as there's, you know, my side and your side. If we're enemies, we fight and everybody loses. So
and I would argue that too. A lot of the like, for all the stuff that they say is, oh, the crimson capsule stuff is toxic. That I would argue that a lot of stuff that men were taught from like their mothers, from their aunts, like you said earlier, like the stuff that we were taught to be that makes us that's displaying less masculine energy is actually toxic by nature. The fact that we don't end up getting the women we want, and then women aren't able to be attracted to us in the way they want to be because we're showing off all these feminine energy traits as well. So that whole thing, like, oh, like compliment women all the time and get them flowers on dates and always ask them for their opinion. Those are things that we do, and we don't get good results from it
because it's overdone now. Like, oh, we do want that, just not now, or not from you. It comes from mothers. It also comes from the church. That was
that could be a whole different show. Oh my God, that could be a whole show.
We trust a lot of those same things, those same traits. But we're talking about that community now. But we mentioned it earlier. Before this, that wisdom came from the pickup community of how to get women. So I'm like, is this better? Is this worse? Is it different? Like, it really comes down to who's teaching men how to be men and who's teaching men how to relate to women.
Right.
And from what we're finding, when women are teaching men, it's not true. Women taught men the wrong things that didn't work because of.
Sounds good, but
yeah, it sounded. They taught the ideals that they thought they wanted, but it wasn't the realities of what actually worked.
Yeah.
And so, basically, the things that are being called toxic, I feel like, are mislabeled. So a man being in charge isn't inherently evil or bad. A man with bad intentions in charge is a problem. But if that happens often enough, we just say, oh, see, look, men being in charge is a problem. So we just demonize men being in charge. Whereas it's just like, okay, let's not put that person in charge. You see what I'm saying? Or like the whole thing of, oh, women submit to men. Okay, well, no, not submit to every man, but they were saying in a relationship, this is going back to the church thing.
Yeah.
In a relationship, that's supposed to be the order. Well, I can't submit to a man who's not doing what he's supposed to do. Okay, so pick a man that's doing what he's supposed to do.
Right. And then what are the things you need him to do? And then that's when you get the list of like, he needs to be X, Y, and Z and yada, 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 yada. It's like, okay, then what are you doing to be?
That's the thing. If you're going for he's hot and he's got money, none of that is qualities of he's doing what he's supposed to do to lead you in a family. That's where I'm like, you got to redirect the initial attraction, and men can't change that. We can either appease it and make ourselves look like what you're attracted to. But once again, once you perfect that skill, the temptation is to continue using it.
Yep, because I definitely know when I finally started getting better at dating, I was like, oh crap, like I'm good at it now. And then I got into like a longer term relationship, and I was like, I have all these skills that I can't use. Like, I mean, again, I got pickup skills. Now I got to learn relationship skills. I got to learn long-term skills. Cause like all the stuff that I would do to try to like keep things new and fresh, like I don't get to use them on multiple people. I did it the first time and crap. Like
I ran into that. Like I was one of the people, I had a friend straight up tell me I had no game. I was like hurt. Like, what you mean? Like, I thought I was doing okay. You have no game. So I went and learned from the pickup world, and it worked. That's the crazy part. But two things happened. One, it worked, and then I got into a relationship. But two, I started losing respect for the people it worked on. Like, I was like, you really going for this? I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
Then it seems too easy. It's just like you just had no thought, like because you feel like, wait, so I didn't happen. It wasn't on their own accord. They just like
these fools really were reading scripts. They would run routines. It got to the point, if you read the game, it got to the point where they went out and the girls that they said the routines to would say it back to them because it had been done so many times. Because it worked. Like, oh, the last 5 dudes I got with said the same thing to me. You didn't pick up on it the second third,
fourth.
the same exact words that it's a script. Why is this still working? So that was bothering me. But like you gotta adjust it and use different stories and techniques and stuff. But overall, the game is the game, and it's what will attract somebody. And then the goal is to attract them and then get to know them and then turn all of that off and never use it again. Keep in mind, you had to spend a long time studying to get to this level if you're not willing to do it naturally. It's like that. And it's one of those like, okay, if you got the skill set and you're not offended by it, it kind of makes sense. Like, you know what? Or even like the whole high value man thing. So you got to put yourself in a position where you're making $200,000-300,000 a year. You live in the gym all the time to get your little physique looking right. You got a house or 2 or 3. You got the Mercedes and the Lambo and all this other stuff. If you are that picture of what most women want, once again, you're now dealing with a different level of temptation. I think it was Chris Rock who was saying men are as faithful as their options.
Yes. So
women don't want a dude nobody else wants. However, that's a dude who will most likely be faithful to you because he got what he wants.
They're gonna want him. Yeah. But then
he's not gonna go chasing nothing else. Men won't chase, but if you at that level, you're not chasing nothing. Women are coming at you. So if you do it at that level, who's not used to being at that level, when you out somewhere and somebody, one of these like models who he ain't never even thought about trying to get at before is like, ooh, come here, and drags him off in the corner. I mean, I know Joseph in the Bible like fought her off and left his coat and ran off. But you know what? He still went to jail because she was like, he did this, he did that. Like most dudes ain't gonna be like, oh no, please don't take my pants down. Like that's a lot to ask, especially if you never dealt with that.
You still go to jail for not messing with some chick. Like that's some bullshit.
That was the Bible story. I was just throwing that in there for the people. Who he still got in trouble, basically, even doing the right thing. She said something else happened. That's a whole nother show we'll get to later. But the point of it is, that's not your typical average dude. That's gonna be like, she's pursuing me.
And I just like
aggressively. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, nobody will find out. Oh, we can just do this. It's okay. What you mean? It's a lot. Like if a woman's volunteering to be your side chick, that's what? I mean, that's weird. Dudes aren't, women are like, oh, we reject guys all the time. You've been rejecting guys all the time since you were like born. We don't reject women ever. We're chasing someone to pay attention to us.
That's why they take it. I think that's why they take it so hard when it does happen, and also why they can't believe that a guy of any kind, let alone a high value guy, would actually look at them and be like, "You're not worth it." It's like, of course I'm worth it. I've always been. Have you had high value guys always chasing you? And then
not necessarily high value guys.
Yeah,
but then some of them do. Because once the mentality of dudes dating down, it's not like, oh, she's beneath me.
Yeah,
if you're a high value dude who's used to women, you probably want some variety. So you've been with all the models, you've been with all the actresses, you've been with all the. You know what? Let me try this one. Let me try a regular chick.
Yeah. Well, that's what Kevin said.
For your girl.
Well, that's what Kevin Samuels was trying to say to these women. He was like, yeah, they might date you or hook up with you, but they ain't seeing you as a long-term prospect. And I don't think because there are a lot of women will be like, oh, well, I get high value guys chase me all the time. And I've been engaged a few times. And he's like, but we judge it based on marriage. And if they're like staying with you long-term, you haven't had that happen because you ain't high value enough for these high value guys.
But the other thing too, like with the dating side of it, you hear rappers brag all the time, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get with this girl. I'm gonna take her from her dude. She's happy with a good guy, but I'm gonna call her anyway. Yeah. Like some of it's just a game. Can I take her from her dude?
Yep.
Can I get her to cheat? Oh, he can't take her on this trip. I'm going anyway. But I've heard stories, bro. I've heard some craziness about this. But if a dude got so much money, he don't care. Of course, he's flying you out to wherever you're trying to go because he don't care. He got the money to do it, like whatever. Yeah. So you're impressed by the fact that he's throwing away a couple of dollars. Okay, so you fell for it, and then he don't actually want you. He just wanted to play with you for a second. Oh yeah, or maybe like the dude pissed him off, so he didn't even want you. He just want to embarrass dude, so he get with you.
It's like a power thing.
With you, and then now you just because it's nothing to him. But it's like, oh, that's what I want. I want to do like that. All right, have fun. Like if you in it for the fun, that's one thing. If you just out there to play too, you know what I'm saying? The Taylor Swift, I write your name. Okay, cool. Have your fun. But if you falling for it for real, come on, man. Like that's not the game that they're playing.
Yeah.
Period. And you see, when they do settle down and get married with somebody, look at who that is. I promise Jaden slept with everything, everywhere that he wanted to.
That's just the one we found out about. Real talk.
No, that's what I'm saying. But before her, you thought he was just, you know,
I'm saying during. I think during
the month before he married Beyonce, like
I think it was just more embarrassing that it got out like it was in front of her. I would not put it past that being a more than one time thing with most.
I'm not commenting on what he's doing within the marriage. What I'm saying is before that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I use my cojones. Like I do this. He's been getting what he wanted for a minute now. Like that's not a thing. So yeah, like whatever chick I met her at the club, she looked good for the night. All right. Like dudes at that level will do that. So she's like, oh, I must be high value because it's high value dude wanted me. Mm-hmm. You were available. And he doesn't have a problem. If y'all got a date up, why would he have a problem dating down?
Right.
Like that doesn't solidify your status, because even if a high status dude wanted you, that doesn't make you high value. That's what I'm saying with that. Like it's crazy, but it doesn't translate that way.
Yeah.
Like women see it as their perspective is the only perspective. So if men think like we do, we don't. There's no correlation. That's why it's so confusing. That's why dudes don't get it, because we don't.
It's so funny. I had I'll go on like Reddit forums and read stories that women are like women's things, and I've seen stories where it's like, I met this guy, we've gone a few times and I really, really like him. Like, what should I do to show him that I like him? Should I get him flowers? Should I do this? I'm like, you're literally projecting out things that you would like. What guy wants flowers and candy as a thank you? But like, that's literally their perspective of like, this is what I would like. Let me like, can you give me a day alone? I'd love that. A day alone, we say, hey, babe, here's a soda, here's some food. I'm leaving alone the whole day. Man.
I got to bring your man up again. Mr. Carter, Mr. Kane, not Jay or Wayne. I mentioned a lot of Carters today, apparently. But yeah, he was talking about women don't know what men want. And it was hilarious because, I mean, he was kind of accurate. He was like, you know what? It's music's fault, because music is always talking about what women want and what a man will do for a woman. But what songs are about what men want? He was like, what you gonna say, cater to you? And he went through the lyrics. He was like, I'll brush your hair. I'll put your do-rag on. What dude ever was like, oh man, I had to leave her. She wouldn't brush my hair and put my do-rag on. Like, it kind of made sense. So like hearing that doesn't shock me, because it's real. It's like, because it's not important what the dude wants. No, it's happy wife. It's got nothing to do with happy husband. Nobody cares about happy husband.
What makes me happy should also make him happy. So if I like flowers and candy, he should also like flowers.
If I'm happy, he's happy. Because if I'm not happy, so it's a negative reinforcement. If I'm not happy, it will make his life horrible. But if you make me happy, well, what would make him happy? Me? What are you getting for Valentine's Day? Me?
It always is me, isn't it? Oh.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if that worked for y'all, but like you gonna do something extra, you do a special little new thing you learned, like you just same old, just all right. When my man in Hustle and Flow, he was like, she get freaky on my birthday.
See that part too. That whole like, I've heard that in real life, like, oh, we'll only do certain things, or on the birthday, it's like, I kind of get it all year. I'm surprised nothing. So
I will say, yes, that is important, but it shouldn't be a carrot. It shouldn't be a, if he acts right, I might. Like, it should be mutual. Y'all should both be trying to please each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go there. Women are always like, how come men like hoes? Why they want the easy girls? And they really don't understand why a man would be attracted to that.
It's literally in the sentence, easy. They make it easy.
Because they're like, he should be going for a quality woman. But is a quality woman going to actually be interested in what he wants? Like, does she care about what he wants? Or is she so concerned with what she wants? And he should be lucky to have her.
And again,
this one is just like,
what she considers quality. Like, because again, what she considers quality can be different from what we want. Like a woman saying like, oh, my quality is I like X, Y, and Z. It's like, what if he didn't consider any of that quality? Are you now going to change it up, or just be like, well, then I just got to find a different man? Okay.
I sent you a meme. I sent you a couple. I send this dude memes all the time because they're hilarious, and most of them would make good show topics. But it was one. It was a model. One of the IG models. She was standing facing away, and it was a full shot. And so I guess it was to appreciate her physique from that angle. And the caption said, "No dude on the planet is wondering if she's financially stable." Yeah. Now, keep in mind, I'm someone who has had this thought because I don't necessarily want to be with somebody who's dependent on me to survive. Like, you're doing a lot. You're not doing okay, like, at all. You're not doing well in life. But I'm not like, what's her stock portfolio like? Is she got her 401k? Oh, I can't date her because of the like. Maybe.
And a lot of women say they've been tricked into thinking that that's what we value. Oh, because women say, "Oh, but I have a degree and I'm smart and I got I make this."
I don't know many dudes that's been like, "Oh, she's bad, but she ain't got no degree." So I hear women say it.
And I've dated women that made a lot of money and treat me horribly. So I don't care. At the end of the day, if you're gonna treat me like I'm less than nothing or that I'm below you because I don't make X amount, then regardless of your money and degrees.
And it just really comes down to like, if she's not up to par, a real dude will get her up to par. So let's say he's going to talk to her and she's not financially stable. He's going to be like, okay, look, most dudes who's trying to get at you going to slide you some money. A dude that's trying to build with you is going to teach you how to get some money. But which one of those is attractive to the woman? Oh, he want me to learn some stuff. He want me to go work somewhere. He want me to go build a business. This dude about to fly me out. I'm going to go with him. Good luck. Can you make it back? Because we'll talk about that. Are you going to be in Atlanta with a GoFundMe because you can't get back home?
Also, is he flying another chick out for that same weekend and want y'all to get along with each other?
But you heard about the girl in Atlanta, right?
Which one?
It was a girl that went to Atlanta and got stuck.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
To get back home. She wasn't flown out, but she figured she'd get there and meet somebody who was going to handle the rest of it, or her little check would come in. But she had to GoFundMe up like, I can't get home. And if you're on the road with no money, you show. But I've also heard of situations where dudes do fly somebody out. She not quite on the same page of expectations, and he'll just cancel her ticket and dip. What you gonna do now? That's a lot.
Yep. Because you can't get, for better or for worse, you can't get with the high value man. And then again, he's making the rules. If you don't play by his rules, you can call him misogynistic. You can call him an a-hole. He probably told you in advance what it is. You can't get there and be like, well, I know what you said, but I'm going to change this up. You lose. Sorry.
But he might not, because at his level, he's so used to it, he figures he shouldn't have to tell you what it is. You should know.
Yep.
I flew you out. We went to the little steakhouse. You know what I'm saying? We staying with this room with this balcony. Okay, I'm gonna bend you over the balcony. What? Oh my God, what did you think this was? What did you think this was? Oh, okay. Security, yeah, I got an intruder in my room. Come get this chick.
Oh my God.
Hey, babe, I'm gonna send you a ticket. You on your way? Cool. Because why not?
We had a former friend of ours tell us a story about that, about her being flown out to Vegas for the weekend and how she got there and he wanted to do all this stuff. And she was like, oh my God. And my whole time I'm sitting there listening to the story thinking like, but he flew you out. Like, again, that doesn't mean that you are obligated to do anything. But I think you should also have a realistic idea of how men are thinking. They're thinking, if I'm flying this woman out, she knows what's going down, because I would not spend all this money on a plane, on a hotel, on a dinner if I didn't think some stuff was going down. To not have that expectation, for women not to not have that expectation for me is asinine, because I'm like, why would you?
But the levels it'll go to, like, it used to be like, oh, okay, there was a whole concept of a woman being a tease, where she would flirt, she would be hypersexual with the dude and be like, oh, well, we weren't going to do anything. And it was a negative. But we've lost that concept, apparently, to where I've heard several stories where women get into some very compromising situations and want to be like, oh, why did you think something was going to happen?
Oh my God.
Maybe when we were making out butt naked in the shower, I thought perhaps this was leading somewhere. My fault. I shouldn't have assumed.
Oh my God.
That led to another step.
Yo, I had a friend of mine that's now an ex-friend that a couple of years ago, like I was going back home to visit and she hit me up saying, we're going to hang out. Cause this is when I was doing my trip around the country. I drove back to Virginia and I hung out with her one week and said, I'm coming back the next week for my nephew's birthday. I'll be back. So I get back. I said, hey, once the party's over, I said, hey, I'm gonna be coming up in a little bit. And she was like, hey, when you come over, maybe we can after we go, we can cuddle up and snuggle for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm this girl forever. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, okay, but let me just, you know what? Let me just see where this goes for the night, see what happens. So during the course of the night, I get over there. She says, oh, when we get back, we're going to snuggle up and stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. during the course of the thing, she's touching my leg. When she's telling me stories, she's like touching my arm. She's complimenting me on how wonderful she thinks I am and all this other stuff. During the course of the night out, I'll say, it wasn't a date, but the night out, we're sitting close to each other. She's scooting closer to me. Like all these things I'm thinking are signals, right? We get back to my place. We get back to her place. And sure enough, I'm like, this is not going where I think it's going to go. She takes a shower, gets all showered up. I get the sofa bed and stuff ready so we can cuddle up out on the couch or on the thing. When she gets out of the shower, she's dressed in pajamas, but like a really nice top outfit, whatever. We get into the thing, we're cuddling up. I'm like, this is all systems go. I got to make a move. I can't be the guy that's like, I cuddle up and then I went home. Because I've been that guy before and I have regrets for those stories. So I said, I'm going for it. And
you talked about it.
Yeah. And I went for the kiss and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. And then we went back to cuddling. And then a few minutes later, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now. You can stay out here. I'm gonna go to bed. So she leans over to hug me. And I said, I gotta try it again. I go in to kiss her. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I mean, you said you want to come up here and cuddle. We wanted this thing. You were just holding the blah, 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 blah. She's like, oh, well, we're just friends. Why would you think blah, blah, blah? I'm like, well, realistically, we're great friends, but like we've been getting along for long years now. And I'm figuring this is, why not explore this avenue? She's like, oh, well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like it was all this him and Han. I had to stop being friends with her. Because I was like, you're not gonna leave me in a situation where something happens by mistake and I get accused of some crap. And also, this is like just one big tease. This whole thing of I come over, I'm being respectful, but you're saying you want to cuddle. You're saying you want to be close to me on the couch. At some point, I'm lying there and I can feel myself kind of getting like, a little excited. And she's like rubbing her butt closer against it. I'm like, all these signals and nothing's happening. Get the freak out of here. Like, but that really happens to dudes. And it's frustrating. They don't get it. They don't get how we don't. If it starts running, we're not thinking you're just gonna cut off and stop. You're thinking you want to keep going.
Yeah, I guess the other side of that too is we'll also have women friends who will tell stories about dudes that they were in compromising situations with, and talk about them so bad for not making a move. Like, right. I've heard those fairly often. That was like, what? The funniest one to me was we were out at a club, everybody was dancing, and apparently there was a cute dude that they were dancing with, and the girl was like, yeah, he was cute, but I don't know, like I was kind of feeling him, but I wasn't sure. And then she's like, maybe he was gay, and the other girl was like, oh yeah, I danced with him. He didn't try to touch my butt at all. He's definitely gay. Because he didn't grope you on the dance floor. So I mean, this was a group of friends of mine, but I honestly in the moment was like, okay, I got a question. I danced with a couple of y'all. Was I at the appropriate level of touching to not? I don't want to mislead anyone by inappropriately not being inappropriate. Stories of similar situations, like you just said, where a woman's like, "Oh yeah, I told the dude we just was gonna cuddle, and we was laying in bed, and he like just laid there and went to sleep. Like he didn't try to touch me or nothing."
Yeah.
Okay, so you hear these enough, and then all of a sudden you're in that situation, and you're like, okay, well, women want a man to be the aggressor. They want a man who's going to be the lead. He's going to take the lead, and she don't want to be the. So okay, let me try a little move. Let me do a little something. And so, what are you doing? Trying? Because
so I'm like, you felt
you're not in the situation.
Like you weren't gross enough.
This close.
Because it feels like I'm not gross enough for you. I'm good looking enough for you to lie in the bed with, but somehow there's a line of like, but you can't do anything more than this thing right here. It's like, what do they think that does for us?
It comes back to I don't see you as a man in the sense of sexual partner. There's a different category and there's no word for it because they won't admit that it exists.
Are they like with the girlfriends like that then? Like in beds together? Like is that a thing they do?
Some.
I guess yeah, because my mom used to say like her and her sisters would be in the same bed, no harm, no foul. But so I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. There that does happen. But then there's also women that will do more than just lay there next to them, which we've seen before. But it really just kind of comes down to like that is a compromised situation, and it typically would be a signal of some sort of attraction or at least comfort level to where the door is open to explore it. But it's one of those like, well, how do you properly explore that? And there's no like real guidelines for this. It's just kind of you're there. So what you're taught as a dude, especially from like the player world, is we'll try some shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily like just jump on and do it, but you know, touch a little something, do a little, try to kiss her, try to, escalate it a little bit.
Yeah.
The problem comes in where dudes don't understand a little bit and try to just go all in. It's like, okay, bro, whoa, ease up.
We're very much 0 to 60 people. It's very hard to teach or to learn to do that. Like, let's start at 25 and then just kind of slowly increase.
Well, it was literally in the game. We was talking about the pickup artist. He gave the playbook. He gave the playbook for how to escalate a situation, when to pull back. He then gave the playbook to a threesome. Like, play for play. I was like, I can do this. Like, that legit.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to you push a little bit, and then he was like, naturally, she's going to resist. That's just a part of the rapport. She's going to give you a wait, no. Okay. Literally, stop, fall back.
Yep. It's like, once you fall back, they become like,
no, that's jail time. Don't do that. But it doesn't mean like give up, it's over. It's one of those like, hey, let's try this. Okay, no, cool. You know, maybe if we, like you said, you went in for the kiss. She was like, what are you doing? You fell back. You went back to what was okay.
Yeah.
Cuddling is okay. Being close and touching body to body in pajamas, clothing is okay. Right? Okay, let me try to maybe touch her leg a little bit. I'm going to touch her calf, maybe her knee. The knee is getting a little personal. You know, you're getting a little close now. She's not tripping. Okay. Maybe the outer thigh. You see what I'm saying? That's a slow. Then she's like, oh, wait, what are you doing? No, stop. Okay, cool. Take my hand back. Chill. But I'm like, there's been scenarios that went both ways. There's been scenarios where you do like a little slow escalation and it leads somewhere. And there's been scenarios where you do a little slow escalation. It's like, wait, no, I don't want to do that. And you're like, okay, where are we going? And if you have the conversation deads it, because then she'll be like, well, no, I don't think of us.
So ironic, because women say they want to be like, oh, we should talk. You need to let me know. But it's like even the thing like something simple is like, oh, you should ask me if I want to kiss first. Most women that I've talked to and most women that I've had the experience of trying that with don't want that to happen because it just takes away from the mood in their head or the idea of the fantasy of that whole thing.
The wildest one to me, I've been in a situation like that where it was the whole escalation. She came on to me. We ended up in a compromising type of scenario. And let's just say it went to the left and I fell back. Like, okay, this went a little wrong. I don't like it. I'm not going to, do nothing too extra. And that ruined the whole thing. From then on, she didn't see me as a sexual type of mate any further because I didn't take advantage of the situation we were in. Mm-hmm. But I was like trying to like, okay, let's try this again under better circumstances. Basically, we had a little too much to drink that first night. I decided to pull the brakes because I didn't want to, take advantage of the drunken person.
Yeah.
I just commented on this the other day. This is more than once. That's been a failure for me of someone getting too drunk and I decided to not pursue. And then later on, they're turned off because of the fact that I didn't pursue. Like one told me to my face, like, I like to be taken. What? Like so don't try to do the whole permission thing. Don't try to involve you in the process. Just take it. That's what you want?
Yeah.
No. At least not.
Too many ways can go wrong. Too many ways can go wrong. I mean, I don't know how masculine more that looks like. I ain't risking some stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the first time out, that's a lot to ask a dude to be okay with just I'm just going not even pay attention. Now if we've been dating for 2 years. Yeah, you come in drunk. We do this every night. It's going down. But first date, nah, you doing a lot, lady. Like get us there. But then at that point, it's like, oh well, now all of a sudden you're not that guy. So I thought we were just friends. We were literally just making out 20 minutes ago. You kiss your friends? Well, no. So what about this whole scenario? You know what I'm saying?
See, that's logic. Using logic, Joe. Using logic. That's messed up.
You strip down to a thong and have your friends give you massages. That's normal for you? That's what you just okay, I guess. My bad. I misread your friend world. Because we didn't do this before as friends. I didn't see this. I don't normally do that with my friends. That's not how my friendships work.
Right.
But hey, whatever your life is like, y'all enjoy that. I'm gonna be over there. Because you're not getting me caught up in some dumb stuff because you don't know what that's supposed to be like. Just where you saying things and doing things that don't line up. Then talking about, oh well, maybe we have a conversation about it. Okay. So yeah.
Man,
it gets complicated. Once again, this type of stuff that leads to I'm gonna just go play Mario. I can learn those rules. I can win that game.
Yeah, and it's easy to understand every game. So
and you don't go to jail if you fail at Mario.
Very true. Very true.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, I could be talking about this all day, but you know, we got some other things to do. But yeah, guys, we could be talking about dating all day long. We most likely will probably do other shows talking about it because it's just it's a very interesting subject, the psychology of it, how things work and don't work, and just the constant stuff that's coming out in the various communities about men's issues and stuff. It's just all very, very fascinating. So good times. So thanks, Joe, as always, for this wonderful conversation. And we will have to do this some other time and some other bat time on the No Cap Zone. So be sure to comment down below, guys and ladies, with your thoughts about today's topics and dating and what your opinions are and all that good stuff.